awesome stories that I absolutely adore. Canarey campgrounds rule sheet. I figured I'd start with a campground one, of course. Rules and required suggested items. Hello, if you are reading this, you either were given the flyer or this place from an old resident, or all of the other campsites nearby are full. Well, whatever reason, welcome. There are a couple of rules and items you're going to need to enjoy your time here at Canarey Campground safely. You're going to start off with the items suggested for staying here and why they are needed. Please keep in mind that this is not a joke, and if you do not follow these rules, there will be consequences brought upon by yourself. Suggested items. Number 1, a blanket. Read Rule 1 for full explanation. You will never be harmed no matter where you are or who's around you while you are lying down under a blanket in the dark, but we suggest bringing a dark colored blanket. A knife. Some animals roam these woods, and if you decide to take a walk through them, it will come in handy. A cookie recipe plus a cookie sheet plus cookie batter. There is a little boy who comes around people's RVs every so often, and he loves cookies. It's only to be polite, and he really is a good kid at heart. So here are your setup rules. Rule number 1. Your campsite number will be given at entry. Do not park in any other site other than the one given to you. Rule 1A. We only have campsites 2 through 25 and 29 through 44. If you look and see you are given a tag of any other number, go back to the front desk and tell them, I am not the person you're looking for, and they should give you a new number. If they give you either another number not listed here or something that isn't a number, tell them. I'm gonna tell the camp owner if they don't leave. And they should come to their senses and give you your actual number. So rule 2. After parking, you may notice that there is no one in the campground. Now is not the time to explore the campsite or any of the woods surrounding them. While setting up your campsite, be mindful of your surroundings. There are rangers who may walk near your site, but never try to walk to them as they are busy doing their job. 2A. If you accidentally say something to them, they are going to watch every move you do from now on and will make sure your day is very uncomfortable. And there is no way to undo this. So now here are common rules. Rule number 1. Whenever it turns dark, you must close your eyes and lay down no matter where you are. You will know when it is dark. Trust your instincts. We cannot promise your safety, but this is better than seeing those things and what they will do to you. You are never safe. They are attracted to bright colors, so hopefully you didn't only bring bright colored clothing. 1A. no body part exposed or safety cannot be promised. This is the safest way to follow this rule. Rule number 2. There must be at least one person in the woods at all times. Though they prefer to have 10 or more, only Rule 3 can override this rule. Rule number 3. On Sundays, you will see a group of men in ranger uniforms come from the back of the campground. Leave as quickly as possible before you join them. I suggest using this day as a shopping day, as you are not allowed to enter camp again until 8 p.m. through 11:55 a.m. You will not be allowed in any earlier or later. Do not worry, it will never be night when you arrive, and none of your possessions inside or out will be touched. Every Sunday, look for them. They are slow at first, so once you spot them, tell everyone else so people can get going. We suggest packing a day before. Rule 3A. This one is rare, but if they do not show up, something happened. Everyone crossed out must come to the main office. The employee at the front desk knows what to do in this situation. But don't worry, this never happens, and we promise you will always be safe at Canarey campgrounds as long as you follow the rules. So 3B. If you stay out past 12 a.m. or fall asleep outside of the campgrounds, don't worry. If it is 12 a.m. through sunrise, go as far as you can away from the campgrounds. Once it is sunrise, come up to the main office and inform the employee working there the events the day prior, and don't leave anything out. Rule 4. On Sunday, you may have a new neighbor. You must always designate someone to hand them a rule sheet. After 12 a.m. on Sunday, it is very easy for the rules to be broken for them, since it is their first time here. Rule 4A. If they have white eyes, then do not tell them anything about your life or your real name. Never use anyone's real name while they are around, or they may become whomever you speak about. You may befriend them, but beware anything they tell you. You must believe no matter how nonsensical it is. They do not enjoy lying like humans do, and you must always take what they say seriously. Seriously. Rule number 5. You can leave at any time. However, you can never bring anything new in unless it's a Sunday after 8 o'clock. If you bring something new in, it will disappear during the night. This is the only time your stuff may be touched, as they like new toys. If you want to make them happy, bring in a stuffed animal. They are children and seem to leave us alone when you give them a stuffed toy. Rule 6. If you're to leave, you must tell at least one camper you're leaving. If there are less than 10 campers at one time, they have a potential of getting angry, and the existing members may not be there after dark. You're only guaranteed safety if there are always at least 10 people there. Rule 7. If the forest tells you to leave, you do not have to tell anyone you are. Leave as fast as you can, or if you're too late and your own life as quickly as possible, that is better than what ye will become of you. Rule 7A. If you hear clicking in or coming from your car as you leave, do not look back or in any of your mirrors or windows except for the front window. than just you there. Go on with your everyday activities, and if not, climb up it and watch the camper drive off and make sure they make it out safely. Rule 8. Everyone must go to bed before 12 a.m. The creatures hunt during the night, and even though you are not its main food source, it is still attracted to movement, and it will take whatever it is given. Rule 9. You can wander the woods from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. freely, but to make sure to have a knife and a blanket on you at all times so you will be able to be protected at all times. The rangers do not hang out near the trails, so if you plan on taking them all, you will have to worry about his local wildlife. So if you plan on taking them all, you will have to worry about his local wildlife. 9A. If while in the forest you manage to find one of the rangers, make sure to avoid it if it doesn't see you. If it spots you, you're going to need to stab it in one of their eyes, or else you will be joining them. Rule 9B. If you find a dead body, walk away as fast as you can. I know it'd be hard, but it's a trap. They're smart, so they know if you see one of your own kind down, you would help them, but it's just a ranger. Rule 10. If you ever want to leave, you can only move out during a Sunday, or else you will end up back at the campgrounds. Though we can never promise you will come back whole. If you just don't feel safe, come over to the main office. You can stay there until Sunday, but there are a set of rules for staying there not included here. Rule 11. If you see a small boy inside your RV, be nice to him at all costs. It is suggested to offer them cookies. They have been through things you can never imagine, so do not cross them, as they may be your best ally during these times. Rule 12. A group of dogs. Come over every Wednesday if you get picked. Do not fight, as fighting may lead to death. Always listen and do not struggle or think it will be over as quickly as it started. If you have befriended the boy, they will not come after you, as they will go to play with the little boy throughout the day, and the little boy will protect you. Rule 13. You can always go down to the main office at any time, no matter what. If you get stuck outside after 12 a.m., just head to the main office, as it is the only safe place during that time, and the worker normally will let you in with no hesitation. But Rule 13A, once you enter the main office, you must say the greetings, and I quote, "Hello, lovely morning," unquote. Don't question this, as it is part of the main office staff and visitor rules. Number 14. If you hear an alarm going off in the main office, does not matter what you're doing, just drop it and go. Those are all the rules. Please follow all of them for a safe stay at Canarey campgrounds. Remember, there are consequences for not following them. I would be afraid to stay there for sure. Sleepover. Number 2 is sleepover rules. sleepover, there are a few things you need to know to ensure you make the most out of the experience. Number 1, do not, under any circumstances, fall asleep first. If you do, you may wake up without a soul. Just kidding. Number 2, if you wake up in the middle of the night, check the time. If it is 2:17 a.m., immediately shut off your phone and close your eyes. If you don't move or make any noise, it may not see you. If it is any time past 3, go to the bathroom and check everywhere on your body for the word tag. If you find it, scrub it off immediately and write it on someone you won't miss before you go back to sleep. Number 3. If you get the feeling you're being watched at any point during the sleepover, it may have chosen you. You will notice your friends keeping their distance from you. Stay as close as possible to others. Don't let anyone write on your skin in a spot you can't see. If they do, go to the bathroom and scrub it off. Number 4. As soon as the first person goes to sleep, find a red Sharpie and write tag on them in a spot they may not look. Number 5. The person who has the word tag written on them by morning will become it and be trapped in the house as it until the next sleepover. Number 6. Once you've agreed to the sleepover, you can't back out. And once you enter the house, you can't leave until morning, or you automatically lose the game and become it. So this is rules. Number 3. Rules for staying at the Interdimensional Hotel. On r/rules or you bother _accurate. Rules for staying at the Interdimensional Hotel. And hello and welcome to the Interdimensional Hotel. Our hotel is located in the void between all realities, and we allow people to stay here while they travel between dimensions, as the process can take some time. We provide our guests with a rule sheet to ensure their comfort while staying in our resort. This experience is excellent, but to experience the best experience and ideal conditions at the resort, we strongly recommend that none of the rules are broken. Have a wonderful stay. Rule number 1. When you are booking your room, the receptionist will hand you a sheet to fill out with information. Under the species tab, there will not be a human option. Trust me, you don't want them to know. Please select other and listen to what the receptionist tells you to do. Rule 1A. If you are one of our human guests and choose the other option, the receptionist will show you to a door that has the name Aosuka at the top. When the receptionist leaves, knock on the door and wait for him to answer it. You will see a 5'11" man with shark white hair and neon blue eyes. This man is the owner and the only person you can trust with your humanity. If you ever find yourself in trouble, call out to him and he will appear before you and handle the issue. He doesn't like any annoying people, so make sure you do not cause too many problems or he might not appear. Rule number 2. When you are given your room, check the door in front of it, no matter what room you are given. Room 266 will be in front of it. This is normal. office chair, a lamp, and a mini fridge. If the office chair is any other color than black, close your eyes and say loudly and firmly, quote, "This is not your room. Please exit immediately," unquote. You should hear a low growl and a ding sound. After the ding sound, open your eyes and inspect the room. If the chair has moved closer to you, call Eosuka. He is the only one that can save you now. Rule 5. After dealing with the chair situation, if it happened, go over to the bed closest to the wall and put your things down. We strongly recommend that you do not look under the bed. If you do, you won't see anything because it is behind you. Rule number 6. After settling in and putting your things down, you have 5 hours to do as you please. After 5 hours, however, there will be a knock at the door. Open the door and stare at the floor. Do not move a muscle. It will leave shortly. If you do happen to move, pray to whatever higher power you believe in, as Asuka will not save you from this. He doesn't like annoying people or things, remember. Rule 7. After it leaves, close the door and resume what you are doing. If you turn around and see a dark shadow in the corner, call Asuka. It got in. Rule 8. If you want to take a shower, do so before lights out. If you take a shower afterwards, well, we will bury your mangled corpse. Number 9. If you wake up and see something in the bed opposite of you, don't move. You are asleep. Rule 9A. If you move, the thing will rush at you with speeds faster than you can react to. You won't die, but you wish you were dead. Rule number 10. When waking up after lights out, always check to make sure the room is empty. If it isn't, close your eyes and go back to sleep. If it is, go to the bathroom and open the shower curtains. If they are already open, call Eosuka. Rule 11. It's okay to stare in the mirror for as long as you want to. We encourage it. Rule 12. There's no Rule 12. So Rule 12, there's no Rule 12. Asuka hates that number. Rule 13. If you need room service, do not use the phone. Just yell, "Room service," and they will come to you. That is all the rules. Please try to follow them, as these rules are not a joke. We hope you enjoy your stay in the Interdimensional Hotel. Number 4. At r/rules horror. By you, all my WAIF, all my WAIFUS died. I'll leave it in the description. So, a guy comes in saying that he's your replacement doctor. Listen to what he says. Dr. John decides not to show up sometimes and is not in the hospital. Number 6. Assuming you are in a condition to eat, you will be provided 3 meals a day. Breakfast at 7 a.m., lunch at 12, and dinner at 8 p.m. Number 7. If a nurse comes in with a meal at any other time, explain that you are not hungry and will eat at the next meal time. 7a. If the nurse insists you eat it, call for a nurse and tell them that she has gotten loose again, and they'll take care of it. Number 8. Do not look in the bathroom from the hours of 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. What likes to be in there isn't necessarily from this world. However, for some reason, they only like to show up for those hours. 8a. Should you, for whatever reason, say whatever. 8a. Should you, for whatever reason, say, quote, I apologize for gazing my eyes upon the one true being and beg for his mercy, unquote. Depending on his mood, anything could happen, from instantly being cured from whatever you visited us for, or at worst, experience that's more gruesome than death itself. Number 9. If a nurse comes in and tells you that you are to be moved to room 405, go with them. That room is the most safe in the hospital, and it should just be a temporary placement. Number 10. All rooms are provided with a TV with basic channels such as local news, sports, games, and the like. However, if there's a channel 24, do not watch it. Alert the nurses immediately. You do not want to see what is on the screen. Number 11. If someone by the name of Mike comes by the room, feel free to tell him about your condition as well as any other problems. He's here to listen. Talk to him long enough and he may tell you everything you want to know. Number 12. No matter the time of day, do not go out of your room on your own. You must have a nurse accompanying you to whatever you must visit. Number 13. Dr. John may take a few days to come. When he does, he will treat you, and you will feel as if you never were sick and or injured in the first place. Thank him for his skills and do not question even if it's something that has no cure. Number 14. Upon being cured, you will be discharged almost immediately after. Upon leaving the hospital, chances are the moment you look back at it, the building will be gone again. Simply don't question it and be grateful. Number 15. A nurse may ask you to visit room 405 before discharge for some additional treatment. Should they do so, accept it, and you will feel better than you ever have before. Number 16. We have heard reports of false rules being added, and although we cannot confirm or deny that, we would like to mention that all our rules start with a capital letter, all end with a period. Dear John, thank you for booking a stay with us at the Eastern OFA Apartments. Dear John, thank you for booking a stay with us at the Eastern OFA Apartments. We're excited to host you on your arrival date. To make sure the check-in process as seamless as possible, we offer self-check-in, so feel free to check in at any time after 9 a.m. on the 15th of July. As a reminder, here is a list of check-in instructions and house rules. Please follow them carefully to guarantee yourself a safe and pleasant day. Check-in instructions. The full address of the apartment can be found there's a buzzer system. Buzz the code 501 and wait for a man to reply on the intercom. Tell him you are with the Claire in unit 411 and wait a few seconds. He will let you into the apartment. Number 3, your unit number is 411, which is on the 4th floor. On the ground floor, look for the post box 411. The combination lock password is 0000. The keys to the apartment are in the post box. House rules, as this apartment is one with a long history behind it. It is normal to expect some abnormal phenomena during your stay here. We may be sharing this apartment with a few non-worldly individuals. Please do not worry. As long as you follow our house rules to the letter, you are guaranteed to be safe. Number 1, please keep the apartment as clean as possible. We have a trash disposal on the ground floor. Please double tie your trash bags and throw them out by the end of your stay. Cleanliness is very important in this residence. Number 2, there is a grill, gate, elevator in the building. We personally recommend taking the stairs if you are physically able to. You will notice that there are 5 floor buttons in the elevator. Please do not attempt to go to the 5th floor. If you accidentally click on the 5th floor button, press on all the other buttons and get out of the elevator before you arrive on the 5th floor. Only the landlord stays on the 5th floor. 2B, around 12 a.m. to 4 a.m., pay attention to the elevator lights if you are taking the elevator. If the lights are off in the elevator, please do not use the elevator and take the stairs instead. It is only a 3-foot climb. We do not know where the elevator will bring you during this state. Claire thought that she would be the first to discover the answer. We have not seen her for over 10 years. 3. Use the hot water sparingly. It is an old building, and the hot water in our apartment unit usually runs out after around 45 minutes of usage every day. Number 4. When you enter the apartment, you will notice multiple deadlocks on the front door. Please make sure they are all locked between the period of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. During this interval, you may, on some occasions, hear knocking on the front door. Do not, under any circumstances, open the door. Make sure the deadlocks are all locked. It always has a copy of the key to the front door. We have changed the lock multiple times, yet it has always managed to obtain a copy of the key. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. 4B, if you are coming back late at night after leaving the apartment empty, please do not return any time between 2 and 4. It may already be inside your apartment. Number 5, if you find personal belongings left behind by other guests in the apartment, we humbly apologize. That meant the previous guest never checked out. Please let us know and we will come over to remove their belongings. Feel free to take any of the belongings if you see anything that strikes your fancy, as we will be throwing them out anyway. Number 6. Yes, all the perishables and non-perishables in the apartment sure they are gone. She will get angry if your key works. 8B. On the 4th floor, you'll find a set of stairs that goes up. Please do not climb up the stairs. It does not go to the roof. If you are taking the stairs, please check which floor you are on at every floor. You might sometimes find yourself climbing 2 floors despite only climbing 1 flight of stairs. Do not accidentally climb any higher if you are on the 4th floor. Number 9. Drop the keys back into the same post box 411 during checkout. Thank you once again for staying with us. We hope that you have a great trip in our beautiful city. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you want recommendations for food or hidden spots. Very nice story. That was by You Dragon Legends at Our Rules, or this is an Arn of Sleep, U/2_Bewilder. I was a house sitter. It's been 3 days since it happened. My hands are finally steady enough to type my story out. The police officers involved in this case were kind enough to allow me to type out my testimony. I don't think I could retell the story in a courtroom. Not with her there. I'm also not sure if it's illegal or not to share this online, but I'm doing it anyway. If there's any way that I can prevent this from happening again to protect anyone from experiencing what I saw, I'd happily take the risk. I might as well start from the very beginning. I'm a very broke college student, and easy money opportunities are few and far between. I was off for the summer at home and looking for odd jobs. One day, I received a letter in the mailbox. There was no return address, just a stamp, my name, and my address. I sat down at the kitchen table, tearing the envelope open with an embarrassingly intense curiosity. A small newspaper clipping fluttered out onto the table. Checking the inside of the envelope, I was disappointed to find that there was nothing else. I picked up the clipping. It looked old and worn, like someone had spent a good amount of time sitting around and rubbing it over with their thumb. On one side was a piece of indiscernible picture. On the other was a ad like one out of the classified listings. It was a wanted ad for a housekeeper. There wasn't much written, just that someone was needed on weekends and the pay was a decent hourly wage. On the bottom of the paper, there was a phone number. I sat back in my chair. I might as well call, right? The man might have been old, but if it ended up in my mailbox, it's likely that the ad poster was still searching for someone to fill the position. Looking back between my phone and the clipping, I dialed the number. On the 3rd ring, someone picked up. It was an older woman. I was almost shocked that someone answered. Hello? Yes, hello. I'm calling about the ad you put out in the paper for a housekeeper. The lady on the other end seemed to pause. Oh, yes, of course. I'm just looking for someone to watch the house while I'm away and take care of my plants. Is the position still open? Yes, it is. How about you come over later today and I'll explain the details? I agreed, and she gave me an address. It seemed like too good of an opportunity to pass up. When I arrived at her house later, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She had a lovely white house and a long is my garden, my life's work. It's beautiful, isn't it? I nodded in agreement. It was beautiful. The garden seemed to wrap around one side of the house. Great oak trees bordered the outside with leaves that had just began to darken. When the garden met the house, thick patches of ivy sprouted out of the ground and curled up the side and around the brick chimney. Hues of dark red speckled my view as I noticed the rose bushes. They were almost taller than me. The roses on them were breathtaking, shining in the sunlit dew like bright rubies. I looked back at her. You did all this? Yes, and it takes quite a bit of work to keep it up. Come, let's go inside and I'll tell you more. I studied her as she led me in. The way she looked was strange. There was no way she was older than 50, but the years appeared to be hard on her face and voice. Yet at the same time, she had a large build that made me think she could throw me over her head. We sat down in a kitchen that rivaled any from home and gardens. She offered me a cup of tea. Now, down to business, she said. I wouldn't usually need someone to take care of my houseplants, but fortunately my sister-in-law has recently passed. My brother is in no shape to handle this on his own. The woman sipped her drink. This weekend I need to drive there to go to the funeral, and I need someone to watch the house. I'm sure this will not be a recurring thing, but who knows? I could always use the help. This is why I need someone else's help, someone who I can count on. She paused. Can I count on you, Alex? Yeah, of course. I was slightly thrown off that she already knew me, but then I settled down. She could have known my mom or anyone who knew I was open to odd jobs. By the way, what's your name? I swallowed, surprised that I had shown up to a complete stranger's house without even knowing their name. Margaret. So I take it you accept? Yes. Margaret told me everything that you expected to be done. She told me that if I was finished with my job, then I could do whatever I pleased as long as I stayed at the house. A few days later, Margaret called me to come house sit. By the time I arrived, she was already gone. Margaret had said she kept a spare key in case I came at a time like this. I lifted a porcelain garden gnome near the front porch. Sure enough, a brass key sparkled back up at me. The inside of the house was darkened from the overcast outside, but with a flick of the wrist, the house was bathed in a warm glow. I got to work setting up the sprinkler system and various plant foods. I walked back out into the garden, still amazed by the roses. I chuckled as the Alice in Wonderland stories came to mind. It was only a matter of time before my chores were finished. When I returned inside, I wondered if there was something else that needed done. If I did nothing else that night, then that's what Margaret would be paying for. Most of the house was spotless except for the kitchen counter and sink. Since I wanted to impress Margaret, I scrubbed the counter and sprayed some cleaner into the sink. I reached for the spray nozzle. The nozzle only came a few inches from where it sat. I pulled again, but it didn't come out further. Annoyed, I opened the cabinet under the sink. The hose wrapped itself around a pipe underneath. I reached my hand under, knocking over several cans and bottles of cleaner. Cursing under my breath, I set each one up again. The last one, however, kept falling over. I picked it up, wanting to toss it through the window, but my eyes caught the glint of a small metal ring. My finger wrapped around it. I pulled and was surprised at the whole bottom of the cabinet shifted up, sending cans of cleaner clattering onto the kitchen floor. My gaze returned to my hand. It held what I now recognize as a handle of sword precipice. My heart doubled its pace in the silence after. The sound was soft and distant, and for a moment I thought it was the floor creaking or my imagination. Then I heard it again. I wondered to myself if there was an animal stuck down there. My hunch was confirmed when I recognized the stench of stale piss mixed with smells from down below. For a moment I sat and contemplated. The feeling of guilt surged up from within me, replacing the feeling of fear. Now I wish I would have just left and ran away. I wish I was a person who could let some stray mutt die. I sighed again, donning one of the painting masks that were now laying on the kitchen floor. Turning on my phone's flashlight, I shined it into the hole. I discovered that it wasn't just a hole. It looked like a tunnel that led off somewhere. Letting my feet sink into the hole, the spongy earth pushed back against my feet. I edged myself into a crawl along the floor of the tunnel. Even though claustrophobia was not usually a problem for me, the sensation of wet soil on my back made me feel like a cornered animal. Fortunately, once I was in a few feet, the hole grew surprisingly roomy. It was almost as if it was meant for a person to go through. I wonder if this was not a hole, but instead some unfinished basement or cellar. Soon enough, I didn't need to crawl. I wiped black filth off my knees as I stood. I was now in an open space, vaguely in the shape of a small room. I looked around. The thing that caught my eye in the light of my phone was a large metal door. The only sound was my feet patting against the dirt floor as I approached the door. I pressed my hair against it, and pieces of rust flaked onto my skin. From the other side I heard the faint moans again, except this time closer. Another sound caught my ear, mumbling and crying. A cold shock of fear ran through my body like an alarm. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run until I couldn't and never look back, but some part of me could not turn away. The same part of me urged my hand toward the door. I grabbed the door handle, turning it. The metal grinding on metal let out a hideous squeal. The moans and cries from inside silenced. I creaked the door ajar, but still everything inside was quiet. A violet light leaked through the doorway, turning my white shirt a phosphorescent blue. I quickly turned off my phone flashlight. Why were there black lights down there? The thought turned over in my head, and I only grew more confused. In the dim light, I noticed something else. Cages. Tens of them along the floor, all old and rusted as the door I had come through. I stood still when I heard nothing. I turned my phone light back on. Behind the bars of the cages, I could see eyes reflecting back at me. I stepped closer towards one of the cages and shined my light within. Whatever was in there tried to scurry away, but couldn't get far. I focused on it. It was a boy cowering in the corner, covering his face. Oh my God, a kid! A horrible feeling settled in my stomach. I hurried to unlatch the cage. There was a large, rusty padlock stopping me. Pulling out my pocket knife, I picked at the lock until it gave way. I swung open the door, motioned for him to come out. Come on, let's get you out of here. The boy remained motionless, but spoke. His voice was weak and hoarse. I can't. None of us can. Us. I shined the light in the other cages. He was right. Several more silhouettes were huddled in corners. Why can't you leave? The boy only pointed towards his legs. A wave of nausea washed over me as I looked down. His legs were horribly emaciated, like those of a Holocaust survivor. But the thing that made me want to vomit was that wasn't his malnourished legs. Thick roots snaked around his ankles and under his skin. The roots sat under his flesh like light, nightmarish leeches, pulsating every few seconds. My eyes followed the roots as they house. Before I scurried up the tunnel, I managed to place the bottom of the cabinet and the chemicals back in there before I heard the keys jingling in the front door. In through the doorway came the not so innocent Margaret, who pulled a large suitcase behind her. I suppressed a shudder when I thought of who or what she could have put in there. She looked towards me and smiled. So how did everything go? I put on the best fake smile I could manage. Everything went well. I got the plants watered and everything like you asked. Besides that, nothing else really happened. Margaret looked down at my knees. What happened to your pants, dear? My heart skipped its beat as I thought of an excuse. There was some crabgrass sprouts growing around one of those rose bushes, so I pulled them out. I did it after I watered the rose bushes, so my pants got a little muddy. Oh, well, you didn't have to ruin your pants for me, but I appreciate the effort. Maybe you can help me in the future. It would be nice to go out more often, get the little things I need. Of course, I lied through my teeth. In reality, I'd never wanted anything more than to be away from her. I grabbed what I brought with me and began to leave. Oh, don't think you're leaving now. Cold sweat builds up on my forehead as I tried to think of a response. Without turning around, I responded, "What? I forgot to give you your check, silly." She took her time getting her checkbook and writing a check. Seconds turned hours, but she eventually handed me the check. At that moment, it was nothing more than a piece of paper to me. I turned to leave, and that time she didn't stop me. My car flew down the driveway, sending sticks and bits of gravel into the wind behind me. I drove as fast as I could to the nearest police station. I was greeted by a brunette police officer with a tired look in her eyes, but by the time I was done talking to her and she had seen the video, the officer seemed a bit more awake. I excluded the part about the roots in case she thought this was some prank. Within a half an hour, a whole group of police officers had arrived at the station to question me. I told them everything I knew, and soon enough they were out of the door. The sirens on the cars wailed down the street, and the flashing blues and reds faded into the distance. I'd like to say that it was a happy ending, because for the most part it was. The kids got sent to the hospital and had the chance to visit Henry in the hospital. Margaret was incarcerated and I'm back home, sitting safe and sound on my computer. However, there's one thing that continues to nag at me. At no time did the officers question me about the rose bushes. There was never any mention of it. Apparently, there were no traces of the roots in Henry's or any of the other children's legs. The fact that nobody mentioned it bothers me a lot. Earlier today, I drove up to an empty field beside Margaret's house. I peeked through the oak trees, looking, but no matter how hard I looked, I could not see the rose bushes. I squinted and even zoomed in on the house with my phone's camera, but they were gone. So if you like this kind of comment, hit the subscribe button, like, and please comment. That would be so fantastic for the channel. And I hope you enjoyed this very fun reading of the stories with instructions. And then the last one, which I found to be very creepy. But be careful of your roses. So this is by u/Blair Daniels, BLAIR Daniels, DANIELS, under r/no sleep. My new house has really strange homeowners association rules. This house has an HOA, I stuttered. The real estate agent nodded. No, I'd heard the horror stories. Fines for walking your dogs, fines for walking about the worst thing a house could have, and I know this from personal experience. Do you have a copy of the HOA agreement? The real estate agent avoided eye contact. Well, how do you like the house? She asked, trying to change the subject. I'd like to read the HOA agreement, please. After rooting through some drawers, she pulled out a thick stack of papers. Here you go. With a heavy heart, I began to read. Pelican Peak Homeowners Association rules. Number 1. Your garage must be kept closed at all times unless you are currently entering or exiting the house. Number 2. The community has a strict curfew of 10 p.m. You may not make any noise between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. and you must also keep all the curtains closed during this time. Number 3. Food scraps cannot be mixed with regular trash. We have a compost bin. Discard food scraps in the red plastic bin provided to you and leave it on the curb on evenings shortly before curfew. We will pick it up and bring it to the compost bin. Do not attempt to bring it to the compost bin yourself. Number 4. You must always wear neutral colored clothing when exiting or entering your home and when walking around the development. Well, that's where I raised an eyebrow. What? Neutral colored clothing? I looked down at my own outfit, aqua blue jeans and a hot pink fluttery top. What is this? Some kind of dystopian nightmare, making us conform to all look the same in these cookie-cutter townhouses. So, I wouldn't be allowed to wear this outfit, I asked the real estate agent. She hemmed and hawed. Well, probably not. But, you can just get one of those long duster cardigans or a jacket in a neutral color and wear it when you go out. It's not a super strict rule. You can have some color. Some color showing. Not a super strict rule, I repeated, pointing, nodding in her direction. I see. I continue to read. Number 5. Never knock on a neighbor's door unannounced. Simply never answer the door if you aren't expecting anyone. As a community, Pelican Peak values privacy and safety above all else. Number 6. When walking your dog, let him or her away from the cul-de-sac on Petunia Lane. The compost bin is back there, and sometimes animals are triggered by the smell. Number 7. Never leave children that weigh under 50 pounds playing unattended outside. Number 8. The homeowner's dues are $150 per month, due on the first weekend of every month. I stared at the sheet. This is pretty restrictive. But look at what you're getting for the price, she said. Granite countertops and mahogany cabinets, stainless steel appliances, a rain shower in the master bathroom, and for all under $200,000. I did love the rain showers. I made an offer the next week. Several weeks later, I was moving in, along with several new black cardigans and jackets. My corgi Buff seemed to like the place well enough. She liked watching the squirrels run by, something she couldn't do from the window of my 11th floor apartment. The first night, I followed the rules to a T. At 9:47 p.m., I put my food scraps out, chicken bones, scalp, course, it was time for my 3-hour Seinfeld marathon before bed. Around 10:15 p.m., Buff started growling. I groaned, paused the episode, and walked into the second bedroom. Buff, shh, I hissed, remembering the association rule. She didn't even turn around. She just sat at the front of the window, her head poking around the curtain. Hackles raised, staring out into the darkness, growling like a mad Buff. My fingers found the curtain's edge, but then I stopped. Keep curtains closed after 10 p.m. That was the rule. But does that mean I'm not even allowed to take a peek? And what if it's some crazy guy sitting on my porch or something, or a rabid squirrel? I pulled back the curtain. At first, I just saw darkness. Amorphous blobs of townhomes stuck to each other, speckled with blocks of hazy golden lights. Everyone had their curtains drawn. The street was empty. No cars, no people, no squirrels. Wait, the street wasn't empty. A tall figure stood on the sidewalk right in front of my house. The light from my window barely illuminated his form, but I could make it out. He picked up my red plastic bin, but there was no garbage truck or wheelbarrow or anything else around to dump it in. Where is he going to dump it? I thought. Is he just going to carry the bins one by one to the compost? That's really He hoisted the bin up, his mouth stretched open far wider than I've seen any mouth open. Then he poured the contents into his mouth. A light crackling sound emerged from the darkness as he chewed up the bones. I stared, horrified, and Buff did too. Then she began to bark. Ruff, ruff. The thing froze. Shh, I said, patting Buff's head. Please be quiet. Ruff. He snapped around and ran towards the window at full speed. A flash of a gray, wrinkled face. Hollow black pits for eyes. A gaping mouth with, somehow, no teeth or tongue. I let the curtain fall. I backed away, hugging Buff, my heart pounding in my chest. That's when the knocking started, and I remembered, perhaps, the most important rule of them all. Never answer the door if you aren't expecting anyone. That was really, really good. And that was by u/Blair Daniels under R No Sleep. Everything will be in the description, and then I will post them in the comments. The next one is on R No Sleep. You, Baron Von Ruthless 91. Baron BARONVONRUTHLESS 91. My dorm has some weird rules. The following paper was tucked inside my student handbook when I moved into my new dormitory. For obvious reasons, I will be editing any details that could lead to the overly skeptical or the overly curious poking around my college campus. After reading the instructions replicated below, I do not think that it will end well. Hello and welcome to Sanity Hall. If at any point you have any questions or concerns about any of the instructions you're about to receive, please do not hesitate to ask your resident assistant or resident director for clarification. The rules listed below are deadly serious. nonsense, and there are others who would rather not warn you about the dangers due to liability reasons. We believe otherwise. Please do not make our jobs more difficult than they already are. Number one. Please do not answer the door if there is a knock between the hours of 3 and 4 in the morning. I would agree with that. Please follow this rule even if you hear the voice of your roommate and he claims to have lost his key. RAs will not be doing room checks during this window of time. Drills will be done by the RAs at various times during the semester to ensure compliance. Do not assume that the knock is a drill even if you hear the voice of an RA. Number 2. On a related note, if you awaken in the middle of the night and cannot check the time for whatever reason, cell phone runs out of battery, etc., please do not try to guess the time without another form of verification. Taking 5 minutes to look for your phone or to wait for your computer to power up is far better than the alternative. Number 3. Ignore the cute girl in the lobby who says that her name is Lilith. By no means should you invite her back to your room if you make the mistake of interacting with her. Please inform your RA if she is seen. Number 4. There is no fraternity named Ed Major Malum Gloriam. This is a crazy university campus. Anyone claiming to be a member of this fraternity should be reported to the RA in your dorm. For God's sake, learn some basic Latin, people. Number 5. Rooms 66 and 13 are unoccupied and are kept locked at all times. If you stumble across anything that suggests that this is not the case, please inform your RA at once. Number 6. If you are locked out of the dorm, please do not try to enter through any unlocked windows unless you can tell that the room is currently occupied by somebody you know. Yes, this includes windows that you can swear are on the other side of the building or on a different floor than rooms 66 and 13. We have reasons to believe students have been tricked into entering the rooms in this way in the past. Number 7. If someone is waiting outside the dormitory for someone to open the door and let them in, you may open the door at your discretion. Do not give them verbal permission to enter the building. If you are holding the door open, but they refuse to enter or they try to prompt an invitation, they can be crafty about this. Close the door immediately and inform your RA. Number 8. You may return from classes to find that small objects in your room have been moved around. This is perfectly normal and is usually relatively harmless and not worth troubling your RA about. Number 9. The occasional soft scream or distant roar in the middle of the night is not uncommon. Once again, this is usually harmless if you have followed the other rules. The other rules. Number 10. Do not perform any seances or play with Ouija boards until or while staying at You Betcha Hall. We are still finding the pieces of the last person to do this. Drugs and alcohol are strictly prohibited. Not only are they illegal, this is a freshman dorm after all. They can blur your sense of what is real and what is not, thereby making it easier for you to make mistakes and break one of the other rules. There are beings out there that are aware of this and will take advantage. or laugh in your face if you inform them of any sightings. We suggest that you inform any sightings to your RA, and they will help make sure that the information gets to the right people. Number 13. If you're invited to a party and find yourself the only man there in a room full of women, this is usually a sign of a very bad night as opposed to a very good one. We recommend that you leave as quickly and discreetly as possible. This is especially true if any of the women claim to be members of a feminist society known as the BACHE. No such organization is officially recognized by campus administration. 14. If you notice any shadow person in your vicinity, it is advised that you try to ignore them, or at least pretend to. From what we can tell, they cannot directly harm you unless you pay them a great deal of attention for an extended period of time. They will not make this easy. Number 15. If there is no sub-basement in, this is a crazy university hall. If the elevator should take you to one, do not leave the elevator or permit anyone anything from the sub-basement to enter the elevator. They will usually require an invitation to do so. Number 16. If you do not see your roommate for more than 24 hours, please inform your RA even if he has left you a note claiming to have gone home for the weekend. We have ways of verifying these things. Number 17. It is not advisable to watch horror movies in the basement lounge after dark. We find that it provides certain beings with, let's just say, inspiration. 18. Any examples of deja vu or doppelgangers should be reported to your RA immediately. Number 19. Any men in robes carrying torches and or bloody daggers around in the middle of the night who claim to be members of the Alpha Mu Mu Gamma doing initiation ceremonies should be avoided. Please refer boxes, and that first day I happened to open the mailbox. I'm not exactly sure why I did it. For anyone who's ever owned a house, you may understand the strange compulsion to open all the doors and explore all the nooks and crannies, so I opened the mailbox. Inside my new mailbox was a letter addressed to me specifically, with no postage or return address, and I've transcribed it below. I cannot begin to tell you how sorry I am for what you're about to read. If you're a family man, which I believe you are, I trust that you'll understand the gravity of my situation after reading this letter. I did what I needed to do in order to protect my family, even if that meant condemning another. If what I've been told is true, it's just you and your wife moving in, no children of which to speak, which is the only solace I have in selling you this house. There are certain things you must know about this house, many of which I cannot write even now. But if you do exactly what I've laid out below, there should not be anything to worry about. Number 1. Do not allow children on your property. I cannot stress this enough. No trick-or-treaters, no Christmas carolers, no babysitting. Number 2. Always leave one light on in the basement. Number 3. If you misplace anything, do not look for it. Number 4. Always set an extra place at the dinner table. Number 5. If you have pets, especially dogs or cats, make sure to lock them up in a secure cage at night and when you are away. Number 6. Make sure you are in bed between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m. with the bedroom door closed. Again, I am terribly sorry, and I hope that you follow these directions to the letter. Please don't be angry at me. I was only trying to get my children back. I want to believe this is a cruel joke, but every time I look at this letter, my stomach turns. The part that scares me the most is the first bullet point. Do not allow children on your property. He may have done his research on my wife and me, but I don't think his research was extensive enough to know that my wife is currently 9 months pregnant. She's due within the week, and the doctor said she could go into labor any day now. I wish I could just get out of the house, but literally everything I had went into buying it. So for now, my wife and I are stuck here, which is r/short scary stories, u/Jack Mulder, MOULDER. Guidelines for tenants regarding the permanent occupant at 8 Osborne Crescent. Do cover the mirrors when you shower or otherwise naked. Do laugh when you hear laughter, especially if nothing is funny. answer any questions. Do not offer anything in return for unsolicited gifts. Do not stay up between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m. Do not sleep without underwear or pajamas. Do not skip steps on the stairway or count the steps as you ascend or descend. If someone goes missing this way, call me. Do not talk about drugs, eschatology, or the terror. Call me if any topic attracts attention and will be added to the list. Do not open doors that it closes for at least an hour. Do not accept invitations by phone even if the voice is familiar. Contact your friend or relative through text or Facebook. Do not eat new food that appears in the refrigerator. Keep an inventory of your food, as these are typically replicas. Do not place anything inside a container. Example, box, closet, that has been opened. If you do not take what replaces it. Do not be coaxed into a trade, even if this requires sleepless nights. In case of an emergency occurs if one or more of the following conditions are met. You wake up between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m. and the permanent occupant is not present for 2 nights in a row. You hear none of the unusual sounds from the stairway. Your water tastes sweet and sugary. Your clean clothes feel prickly against your skin. Enact the following steps before contacting me, as the emergency may escalate. Break all the mirrors and cover them. Leave the house with your personal belongings, discarding dirty clothes and gifts in the house or back garden. If you have received a gift in a trade, leave a personal item in a public area of the house. Leave as many personal items as you have traded. The monetary value matters less than the personal value. Shower at the local gym. Consume some store-bought sandwiches and a bottled